Like, if you want to call your girl daddy and have her peg you, like, do it. I don't care.
Right.
Hey, it's Megan.
And Sue,
the Spine Breakers.
And today we are going to be talking about the books that we read for the If You Got It, Read It challenge of read a book from your most owned genre.
And while we do this, we are going to drink this chocolate milk stout from Four Hands Brewing, which is in St. Louis, Missouri.
I haven't had one of these in a long time. I know I've had it before, but it's been a while.
It's damn tasty.
It's pretty good.
Damn tasty.
Food pairings, chocolate and grilled beef.
I don't know, like I only ever
Interesting.
want sweet beers like this with no food or dessert.
Yeah, although I feel like with dessert, if your dessert is too sweet, it then makes your beer not taste as good.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
But anyway, so what book did you read for this challenge?
So my most owned genre, it will come as a surprise to none of you, is sci-fi or maybe horror. So I read a lot of books this year that I could count for this challenge. I did not end up counting the book that I had originally chosen for this one. Where is that
I don't think I
challenge?
did either.
So yeah, I had originally chosen Early Riser by Jasper Fforde. Did not read that. Instead, what I'm choosing to count is The Calculating Stars by, it's like Mary Robinette Kowal. That's what it is. Okay, so it is the first book in the Lady Astronaut series, and it is kind of an alternate history book. It takes place in the 50s. There is a cataclysmic event which occurs, and while it does not end life on Earth immediately, it does kill a lot of people, and it sets in place some very rapid climate change type situations, and it's going to make life on Earth unlivable in the very near future. Like not hundreds of years in the future, but like nearer. And so they are thinking that the way that we need to go is to find a way to be able to colonize other planets, because we're not going to be able to sustain life on Earth, and if we don't do something, everybody's going to die. So this book is about a female computer. So I always think that's a weird job title, because when
Yeah, it sounds like you're a computer.
Yeah. But she does science math for rocket launches.
She does science math.
Yeah. And her husband is an engineer who works on rockets that go to space. And so they are kind of fundamental to this plan to get off of Earth. But she's a woman, and so she wants to be one of the astronauts who gets to go into space to head off this like colonizing adventure, but she's a woman. However, she was a pilot in World War II, and she knows a lot of other female pilots from World War II, and she's trying to get them all to apply to be astronauts because they want to include women in this, but obviously it's like the 50s and men are like, brr. And that's what all men sound like to me. I liked it. I thought it was a really fun book, even though it sounds like every time I say that, like, it's a really fun book, it's always like, this devastating cataclysmic thing happened, and it was really fun.
So fun.
So fun. But no, it was a really interesting book. She was a great character. She had issues with anxiety, like debilitating social anxiety, which I thought was an interesting character trait to give her. But she never really came across that way when she had to present herself in public. She was able to like get it together, and it was always like before or after she had a public appearance that it was an issue. Yeah. So I really liked it. I think I gave it 4 to 5 stars. It was a really fun alternate history. There's several other books in the series that I do plan to read. I will say, like, the one thing that I was a little iffy on is, so she, like I said, she was a female pilot, and she meets this black woman who I think, I don't know if she was a pilot or if she was like in some way like tangentially involved in that. But she meets a bunch of black female pilots, and so she kind of tries to pull some strings to get them spots too, to get them considered as well. And while I understand that, like, as a white woman, she was probably using her privilege to help them, like, have a voice and be seen, I always kind of worry when books are written by white women that they might fall into the whole trope of white savior lady, kind of like The Help did. And so I don't know how I felt necessarily about her role in that. Necessarily, but like I said, I do understand that in that time period she was probably trying to use her privilege to help fellow women, you know.
I also have to admit that when I heard about this book, I had assumed that it was like written by a black author, because isn't it like sort of based on Hidden Figures?
Yeah.
Which is about black women?
Yeah.
So I was kind of like surprised that this book was written by a white woman.
Now I'm doubting. Let me double check. Pretty sure she's white. Super white. Okay. She might have said she myself. But yeah, so it is kind of based on Hidden Figures, or maybe not based on, but it is very
Inspired
reminiscent
by,
of.
yeah.
And so, I mean, that kind of makes me feel a little bit like, about it.
I don't know. I haven't read it, and I also haven't read or seen Hidden Figures, so
yeah, I haven't
I
either.
don't really have a fully formed opinion
Same.
on it, but
See, I've read this book, but I haven't read or seen Hidden Figures yet. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we don't really need more books from like a white lady helps black lady perspective. You know what I mean? Because we get enough of that. I almost went down a whole rabbit hole, but I'm not going to do that. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of my caveat about it. But I did really love, especially for it being set in the 50s, I loved her.
As soon as we start filming,
He's
it's
like,
I desperately need
to go outside, or I desperately need in your lap, and I need everyone to look at me, or both. I need both. But yeah, so I loved her relationship with her husband, especially for the book being set in the 50s, because he was very supportive of the fact that she had this career, it was something she was very good at, but also that she had this ambition that she wanted to do something that was pretty unheard of for a woman to do. And he was, excuse you, he was really supportive of her in a way that was like not at all like patronizing or demeaning at all. So I really liked that aspect of the book. But yeah, I do kind of like, I don't know, I'd be interested to hear what other people have to say about the whole white lady savior thing.
Yeah.
So, because it could just be me, but yeah. So if you have any thoughts on that, if you've read the book and have any opinions about that, leave us some comments.
My most owned genre is probably also sci-fi, and so the book I'm counting for this is Gateway by Frederik Pohl.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to finally get to really discuss this book. And I'm not sure what I did with my copy. I might have already gotten rid of it because, spoiler alert, it wasn't great, in my opinion. So this is about a guy named Robinette, or Rob, or Bob. He's called all of these things throughout the novel, but I'm going to call him Bob because I think that's what he's called most often. But this kind of flashes between two different timelines. One where Bob is in what's present day in the novel, and he is in therapy, and his therapist is like a robot, basically. It's not a robot, but an AI. And he's talking about this traumatic event that he went through on this place called Gateway. And Gateway is a structure that was discovered by humans, but was left behind by these aliens called the Heechee. And no one knows what happened to the Heechee or who they were, anything. All we have is this structure and like other artifacts that are found sometimes. And on Gateway, people can pay to go there, and then once you're there, you can sign up to go on these missions. And the missions are these rocket ships that the Heechee left behind that are like they have like coordinates already programmed in, and we as the humans haven't figured out how to change those or what they mean or anything, but we do know that sometimes you'll go on these missions and find some very valuable resources or artifacts, and if you do, then you become filthy rich. So this is a very like extremely capitalist type of environment.
Right.
And the book is, I think, anti-capitalist, so I can get behind that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so you can pay to do this, but the thing is that since you don't know what your destination is, you could also, there's a very high likelihood that you will die. You could get shot into a black hole or into a star, or the mission could be way longer than you have the resources for, and you could starve to death before you get back. Like, there's all kinds of things that could go terribly wrong.
Sounds super capitalist.
So, yeah, so people are very, very much risking their life. Like, there's a higher likelihood of you dying than of you becoming rich doing this. But people are risking their lives to hopefully become rich and be able to, retire and live wealthy, because on Earth, you're just like working, never getting ahead. Sounds familiar.
Sounds about right, yeah.
So all of that I can kind of get behind, but like Bob.
Bobbin.
Oh, Bob.
Oh, Bob.
So he ends up going to Gateway and he meets a woman there. First of all, like, Bob fucks every woman in this novel.
Bob's dick is prolific.
Yeah, like, nothing wrong with getting some where you want to.
Right, yeah.
But I was like, could there not have been one female character in this book that he didn't fuck?
Were there no female characters who were like, nah, no thanks, you're not really my type?
Yeah.
Not
exactly.
one? Not one?
But he meets this woman there who, like, they, like, fall in love, but they have a very tumultuous relationship. And I'm just going to say right now that I'm probably going to spoil some things because I just got to talk. We gotta talk
this out.
This book.
We gotta talk it out.
And so, throughout most of the novel, I was like, Bob seems alright. He seems like a decent dude, even though, he just fucks everyone, but that's his prerogative, whatever.
Right, sometimes you gotta get your dick out, do it, whatever, it's fine.
I hate that.
I hate that phrase so much.
But then, like, Bob he's kind of a wussy about going on these missions, understandably so.
It's terrifying.
But he and his lady friend, whose name I can't remember now off the top of my head, but they're kind of like very iffy about going, but they eventually go on one and they don't hit pay dirt on it. It's kind of, but things go okay. They don't die.
They're still alive.
One of their compatriots, because they go on like a 4-person mission, I think. Like, there's different sizes of spaceship. And they get on a 4-person one with this gay couple, which there was a lot of like LGBTQ representation sort of in this book, which I'll get into later. And this is an old book. I think it was published in the 70s. Go on a mission with this gay couple, or maybe it was a throuple, maybe it was a 5-person, I don't remember for sure. But one of them does end up basically like going insane and killing himself after they get back, because he's been on like several missions with no rewards, and they're like very trying, very,
That's an ordeal.
physically and mentally demanding missions. But anyway, so they go through this, and then they're kind of like bopping around Gateway for a long time, just living there and kind of like putting off going on another one. Mm-hmm. They finally decide to go on another mission. And they go with this guy. I think this was a 5-person mission, so I think there's a couple other people too. But one of them is this guy. I think his name was Dane. Well, I remember his name and not the lady's name. I don't know. But Dane has been a source of contention for them. Because earlier, this is whenever I was like, Bob, what the fuck?
Right.
Because Bob and his lady friend kind of have like a little bit of a break. They kind of break up a little bit. And during this time, she sleeps with Dane.
Okay.
Bob is furious about this, even though he's fucking other ladies too.
Right, but yeah, I mean, they were on a break.
He's furious about this, and he beats the shit out of his lady friend. And that's when I was like, what in the fuck, Bob?
Jesus.
In front of a child, no less, because she was like babysitting a child at the time. And he beat the shit out of her in front of this child. And so already I was like, okay, I'm done with Bob. But for whatever reason, she like forgave him. And so now they're like sort of back together. But you find out the reason that he was so upset that she slept with Dane specifically is because Dane is bisexual. And Bob secretly wanted to fuck Dane. Or rather wanted Dane to fuck him.
Bob's a bottom.
Yes.
All right.
And so that's why he was so upset, is basically because he was jealous that she slept with Dane and he didn't sleep with Dane.
Because she got railed and he didn't.
Right.
All right.
Still ridiculous. But then they're on this mission, right? And they've kind of like figured out a way to give each other private time. And so it's implied, at least, that Bob finally
Gets fucked by Dane?
By Dane.
All right.
But, okay, so like I said, they're bouncing back and forth between this timeline and him talking to his therapist, right?
Right.
Well, when he's talking this through with his therapist, and the reason he gives for why he wants to have sex with men is that when he was a child, the only time his mother showed any affection for him was when he was sick, and she would take his temperature rectally. And so she would have him lean against her, so it was like she was hugging him, and then put the thermometer in his butt. I wish I had the book, because the quote, I wish I could quote it right now. But he basically says, like, I guess the reason why I want to be fucked in the ass,
right,
is because I feel like that's the only way I can receive love, basically, and affection. So that's the reason he gives for why he wants to have sex with men. What?
Look, listen, I understand. Like, here's a hot take. I'm not going to say that I like Bob, because Bob kicked a lady's ass, and that's not cool.
Mm-hmm.
But those of us who do sleep with men kind of have to justify that, right? Because, like, men. So maybe he's trying to be like, I know.
Well, my
men,
thing, though, is
but
like, you know, you can still have something shoved up your ass with a woman.
I know, like, your lady friend could totes peg you, my dude.
Yeah. So that whole, like, I read that sentence and I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Wow. It was just so funny and ridiculous.
That is absurd.
Also, he does some terrible, like, unethical things involving his therapist, because he, like, figures out the code to, like, basically get into his therapist, who, as I mentioned, is an AI, into his files. And then he's, like, scoping out ladies. Yeah, so he, like, does some very shitty things there, too. So Bob is just, by the end of the book, I was like, oh, what the fuck, Bob? Like, seriously.
Yeah, Bob's a shady asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, man, I'm really regretting not keeping that book, because I think I might have gotten rid of it. But I wish I had that quote of when he says
why he
wants to have sex with
why he's a
with
bottom,
men.
basically.
Why he's a bottom, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, what? But it's like, in a weird way, the book is like sort of progressive a little. I mean, it was published in the 70s, I think.
So, I mean, there's LGBTQ plus representation.
Yeah. And there was also, like, I mean, there was, none of the main characters were people of color, but there was, like, mention of people of color being on Gateway. So there was at least, you know,
they existed.
Other people around.
Right.
They existed in the novel, yeah.
Which for the like a sci-fi novel written in the 70s.
Yeah, but I would say I didn't think it was good, and it is one of his more, like, you know, decorated novels, like it won awards and stuff.
Right.
And so I'm like, I don't know. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, because it also, like, which this is the beginning of a whole series about this dude, Robinette. So maybe things are answered later, but I was waiting for, like, something to happen, for them to, like, find the Heechee or something, and that never happened. But I think it happens later in the series.
Okay.
I did get the second book in this series at a library sale, so I think I'm going to read it just out of, like, curiosity to see what happens next.
Yeah. That's a wild ride.
That was the wild ride I went on for that challenge.
That is a wild ride.
And that might be one of the most ridiculous things I'd ever read in a book, was his reasoning for being bisexual.
Yeah. No, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But, I mean, I feel like he probably likes it up the ass because he thinks it feels good. But if you gotta say it's
That's
because
probably
your
it.
mom stuck a thermometer up your beehole.
But also, you can like it up the ass and not want to have sex with men.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, liking it in the beehole doesn't make you bisexual or gay. Like, it just means you like it in the beehole.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't have strap-ons
Maybe
in
Frederik,
his gateway.
Frederik Pohl didn't know that, you know.
He was not aware of pegging.
So that was our reads. I wouldn't say that mine was like a good read, but it was at least entertaining.
Yeah. Mine was decent. I'd say it was decent.
Yeah.
It was entertaining. Yeah.
If y'all have any thoughts? Let us know below.
Love to hear them. Yeah, so throw us some comments and let us know what you think if you read either one of these books.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you just want to weigh in.
Right.
Dive in. Let's do this.
Yeah, and let us know what you guys read for this challenge if you're participating.
Yeah. So don't forget to participate in the readathon if you were not planning to do so already.
And send us your completed list if you've done it.
And you may or may not get a little treat in the mail.
Yeah.
So
thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, the beer's good, by the way.
We like the beer. It's tasty. We're going to eat lunch now.
Yeah.
Bye.